At some point in the last 50,000 years, there were at least 8 different species of human beings alive on this planet at the same time. Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, Homo floresiensis, barely 3 feet tall on an island in Indonesia, Homo luzonensis in the Philippines, and others we are still discovering. They all had fire, many had tools, some had language, some buried their dead, and then, one by one, they disappeared. Only we survived. And we still don't fully agree on why. Let's be specific about who we're talking about. Neanderthals were not primitive brutes. Their brains were as large as ours. They made jewelry, they painted caves, they cared for their injured. They survived ice ages. Denisovans, known almost entirely from a single finger bone found in a Siberian cave, appear to have ranged from Siberia to Southeast Asia. We only confirmed they existed in 2010. Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbit, lived until at least 50,000 years ago on the island of Flores, possibly overlapping with modern humans. These were not failed prototypes. They were successful species. Some had been around for hundreds of thousands of years before we arrived. The dominant theory, proposed by historian Yuval Noah Harari and supported by paleoanthropologists, is that around 70,000 years ago, something changed in Homo sapiens, something neurological. We call it the cognitive revolution. Our brains didn't get bigger, but they appear to have rewired. We gained an ability that no other species had ever fully developed. The ability to believe in things that don't exist. Not just to communicate facts, there is danger by the river, but to share fictions, stories, myths, gods, nations, money, laws. And this ability to believe in shared fictions is the engine behind everything that followed. Here is why this matters so much. A chimpanzee troop can coordinate, but only among individuals who know each other personally. The maximum functional social group in primates is around 150 individuals. Homo sapiens can coordinate among millions of strangers because we share a story, the same god, the same flag, the same currency, the same company. Neanderthals may have had language, they may have communicated well, but the archaeological evidence suggests their group stayed small, their trade networks stayed local, and their technology changed very slowly over hundreds of thousands of years. Ours exploded. When you can organize 10,000 people who have never met each other around a shared belief, you have a weapon no other species can match. This coordination advantage showed up in the material record immediately. Homo sapiens traded tools and materials across hundreds of kilometers, obsidian from one region appearing in archaeological sites far away, shell beads from the coast found deep inland. Neanderthal technology, by contrast, was mostly local. They made excellent tools, but the same tools in the same style for tens of thousands of years. Sapiens' technology changed fast. Within a few thousand years of the cognitive revolution, the archaeological record fills with new forms: bone needles, fish hooks, rope, art, musical instruments. Speed of innovation is a survival advantage. When your environment changes, a drought, a volcanic winter, a new predator, the species that can invent a new solution fastest survives. Now we need to address the darkest theory. Did we kill the others? The honest answer is possibly, partially. The evidence is complicated. In some regions, the arrival of Homo sapiens correlates with the disappearance of other megafauna and, eventually, other human species. The pattern is suspicious, but direct evidence of organized violence between species is limited. What we find instead is displacement, sapiens expanding into territories, outcompeting for resources, fragmenting habitats. We also interbred. Modern humans of non-African descent carry 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA. People from parts of Asia and Oceania carry Denisovan DNA. So the story is not purely extinction. It is absorption, competition, and attrition across thousands of years. Competition was not the only force. Climate played a massive role. Between 75,000 and 25,000 years ago, the Earth went through extreme climate swings. The Toba supervolcanic eruption around 74,000 years ago may have triggered a volcanic winter that collapsed global human populations to as few as 10,000 individuals. Small populations are fragile. A drought, a disease, a bad hunting season can eliminate a group entirely when the breeding population is already tiny. Neanderthals and Denisovans appear to have had consistently smaller and more geographically isolated populations than Homo sapiens. That fragility made them more vulnerable to the kind of repeated environmental shocks that characterize this period. Homo sapiens, by contrast, were already spreading globally, multiple populations across multiple continents. Even catastrophic local events could not eliminate the species. The discovery of Neanderthal DNA in modern humans changed the story completely. When the Neanderthal genome was sequenced in 2010 by Svante Pääbo and his team at the Max Planck Institute, work that earned a Nobel Prize in 2022, they found that non-African modern humans carry a small but consistent percentage of Neanderthal DNA. This means we didn't simply replace them. At some point, we met them, and we reproduced with them. Some of that DNA appears to have been beneficial. Certain immune system genes and altitude tolerance variants in modern populations trace back to Neanderthal or Denisovan ancestors. We absorbed parts of them. Their genetics live in us. The other species didn't simply vanish. They merged partially into us, and then the rest were gone. So we have several overlapping answers, and that is probably correct. It was never one single cause. Cognitive flexibility, the ability to imagine, innovate, and share new solutions, fast, social scale, the ability to organize and cooperate in groups far larger than any other species could manage. Geographic spread, distributing the species across the globe, so no single catastrophe could erase it. And perhaps luck, being in the right place at the right time, while others, equally remarkable, equally intelligent, were in the wrong place when the world changed. What we are not is superior. We are not smarter, in any simple sense, than a Neanderthal who survived ice ages and hunted mammoth and cared for their elderly across 400,000 years. We are survivors. That is a different thing entirely. 8 human species, hundreds of thousands of years of parallel evolution, different bodies, different adaptations, different cultures, and then silence. The Neanderthal who sheltered from a storm 40,000 years ago, who fed their children, who felt something looking at the stars, they were real. They were kin. Understanding why we survived and they did not is not just a scientific question, it is a moral one. Because everything that made us survive, the stories, the cooperation, the speed of change, is still operating right now, shaping what comes next. The question isn't just why we survived the last extinction, it's whether we're building the kind of species that deserves to survive the next one. Like and subscribe for more videos.